Right. Afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the next of our series of webinars brought today by Deventure Education. Today's webinar features Dr. Neelam Parmar, and the title is Leading with AI, Helping Schools Move from AI Exploration to Strategy. For those that haven't met Neelam before, she has over 20 years global experience supporting schools, trusts and organizations internationally on digital strategy, including AI, curriculum design, different learning models, professional development, and strategic consulting. And today's session, which I'm really looking forward to, is understanding about AI. And the main focus is going to be about understanding about the starting journey with AI, using different insights and different audits to help inform your decision making, identifying the risks, because I know those things have cropped up a lot about the use of AI, and focusing on practical, sustainable approaches. So with that, over to you, Neelam. But I think initially we're going to have Liam just explain a bit about the audit. Is that right? So over to you then.
Thank you very much, Andy. Yes, just before we get into Dr. Neelam's content and her work on the digital and AI transformation audit, I just wanted to provide a quick introduction to who Deventure Education are, our work together, what the audit entails, and how you can start to access and work with the audit more formally. So firstly, as Andy said, my name is Liam. I'm part of the team here at Deventure Education, widely known as the home of school IP. In today's session, we're joined by Dr. Neelam Parmar, the founder of audit, and we will be looking at their digital and AI transformation audit, a free tool developed by Neelam to help schools reflect on their current strengths, focusing mainly on digital leadership, pinpointing gaps in digital pedagogy, and planning next steps within your leadership team. In our collaboration between Deventure Education and audit, we have created the free audit inside the School IP platform, so it's free for you guys to access on our website, and I will send a link around to everyone here today so they can register for that if they wish. It allows you to have a digital online portal where you can start to fill in your answers, provide that feedback, rag rate on a number of questions. I think there are about 55 questions contained on the audit. You can also start to link in any key pieces of evidence that you'd like to highlight, and then easily visualize your current status on the dashboard. In the wider School IP solution, you can then also link it back to your school's improvement plan. So you can start to highlight future targets and projects that you want to focus on in that digital AI space, and linking it into those wider school improvement targets. The audit covers 6 main sections of focus. So that includes the the leadership and strategy area, the operations and policies, IT systems and infrastructure, teaching, learning and pedagogy, training and CPD, and innovation and test-bed engagement. So without much further ado, I'll now pass this over to Dr. Neelam to start to take you through the audit itself, how this is working for schools and trusts already, what her offering and support is when it comes to taking you through this audit and helping you to embed digital transformation into your daily lives. Over to you, Neelam.
Thank you. Thanks, Liam, and thank you, Andy, for a lovely introduction. I'll never get used to that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then I'll answer some of the questions. Just to let me know, I think you should be able to see my screen, which is really the School IP audit. But before we get started, before I drive you down into what this looks like in practice, I will answer some of Liam's questions first. So why the audit? What is it about? How do I use it in practice? How did it start? Basically, what is it you'd be doing should you be interested? The audit really is an amalgamation of a lot of the work that I've done over the last, like Liam said, over 20 years. It started off with a few pieces of paper. It then was built into perhaps some sort of report, and then it kind of got developed into a really extensive Excel spreadsheet. And it was at that point when I built the spreadsheet and I was putting it out there for everyone to have access to it, I met Stuart. And when I saw what he had and something that I was aspiring to do, it made sense for us to collaborate and so that we could develop the digital audit within school IP itself and be used within the wider remit of school improvement across schools, across the multi-academy trusts, across groups of schools, because then it would be tied up into school development plans. It's a priority and it can be scaled within different areas of operations, academic, support staff, extracurricular, test beds, innovation, research, and development. And that's pretty key now, more so than it was 5, 7 years ago, when now digital has become such an important part of our lives. And again, such an important part of what we're trying to do in school. It stems from everything in terms of non-operational administration sort of tasks to teaching and learning, to the pedagogy you hold in the classroom, very much so with AI in the curriculum and running AI test beds or mini pilots in your classrooms with your digital champions or with your students or whoever it may be, because that's where it's going to start. So the audit started with small ideas that became something quite big. My intention around this was to help all schools, individual schools, independent schools, free schools, academies, etc., the access to make a start. And so it's like Liam said, got 55 statements. Of course, there's a more full-blown version of it, and it's much bigger, more intensive. But that's not something that I would not let others, but yourselves kind of get hold of and run with it, because it's a big moving piece. While these 55 statements will get you started with where you are, look at your gaps, look at your strengths, understand where your growth process is, where perhaps your weaknesses and where you need to close the gaps. It'll get you to a place where you can get the ball rolling, and it will get you to a place where you think, I've never thought about that, or I didn't realize that there was an overlap between leadership and perhaps training in CPD. So it will help you to get started. My conversations at many independent schools, many schools, not even independent, individual schools, was it's so visual. So while we may think we know a lot of these things and it's common sense, perhaps, or we're doing it, it becomes a very visual activity. So again, in my spreadsheet that I had built, it's very pedantic, very easy to use. You could easily see where the red zones were, where the unclear zones were. With school IP, it's even better because you're able to see what's unconsidered, for instance, or what's not started, or what's emerging priority. So this process makes it very visual. It makes it very ideal in terms of what do I want to get to first or next or later? What are my 3 objectives I need to work with? And it just makes things very clear and consistent. So the reason the whole audit came into being was to offer this sort of clarity and empower people, those who are digital leaders in schools, to take hold of this big project, this digital transformation project, understand that it's made of components and not just one subsection. That is, again, something else that we see quite often, that we look at things in silos. Well, when we look at digital transformation, as you're seeing in everyday life, it's not affecting one piece only, it's affecting it across the board. So it's getting us, by doing this audit, you'll look at becoming digital ready. You'll look at integrating AI into these various sections mentioned. You'll look at pinpointing gaps in your design, and you'll look at how you can work with each of your departments, each of the sections in your schools across the board in the multi-academy trust, where you can collectively plan your next steps and integrate it within your school development plans. So ideally, what tends to happen within this digital AI audit is you get a bigger picture of what it looks like. Within the spreadsheet that I had, you also get points. So I'm pretty sure you get points in this as well. And then you'll be able to see what are some of the things that you've completely forgotten about. Okay, so it's RAG rated, which really helps. And also it produces a report in the end, which you can then print and take away. Now, what's very good as a report is at the end of this audit, what I tend to do is work with schools, should they want it. Most people have opted for it. So I'll give them a half an hour, 45. I say half an hour complimentary call, but no, we always talk forever. It goes on for about an hour or so, where we can look at this as a blueprint and a big picture and see where are some of these conflicting areas. And while you may think perhaps that I need to be working on a curriculum, what we'll see very quickly is actually teachers aren't ready and we need to be training your teachers first. Or you might think I'm going to bring in these AI specific tools because it's going to help with assessment or might help with bridging data between systems. What you might find is that actually the application you're bringing into your system is not suitable for your current ecosystem. So that's what comes out of this audit. Lots of highlights, lots of insights, and lots of questions, which together you and I can work together to solidify a better plan moving forward, if that's of interest. I'm not going to take up too much time, so I'm going to walk us through the school IP dashboard here. You'll see that it's divided into 5 sections. Within each sections, there's a bunch of questions. So if you look at leadership and strategy, there's a few questions that I put out to sort of criteria that I'll put out to you, which you can then respond to as unconsidered, not started, emerging, developing, or established. And then you can write any more notes that you want, because these notes are really helpful when we have our progressive conversations. So there is, for instance, there is a leader accountable for all digital education initiatives in your environment, really. And you might say yes to somebody in there who's taking full accountability for all our digital initiatives, or actually it's emerging, we're not there yet, or we haven't even started with this process. And that's fine. Be as honest as you can, because this will help you. Put in whatever comments you want to add in as well. And then you can go on to the next question. The school has at least a 2-year tech enhanced strategy within school development plans. Again, you might think we've not considered it. We've considered it, but we haven't started it. And this is actually another really important distinction, because you might talk about it, but you've not written it down. And that's when the goalpost keeps changes. So when I ask you these questions, you might answer this with your own context and your understanding. But when I speak to you, that's when I'll go deeper and say, yeah, but has it been written down? Have you actually spoken about this to your staff? Can you say that everybody's understood what it's about? So there's a whole bunch of questions within each section. Now, there is obviously a more intensive on-site visit, which I can do as well. And that takes this and goes even further. It drills down even more into your digital systems, your leadership, your AI readiness. But to get you started, you'll see that the section is divided in leadership, goes into operations and policies. It considers the policies that you have, whether they've been updated, whether you've got areas of cybersecurity, disaster recovery covered, budget planning, etc., and also various other areas of teaching, learning, training, and innovation and testbed engagement. It seems to be relatively new, but it's really taking off now, and one to consider. What's really exciting is when you go into the dashboard and you see it drawn up like this. Now, I haven't completed all of it. This is very much a test version here, but you'll very quickly be able to see your score. So yes, this is RAG rated as well, and the bigger picture. So particularly for this environment, you'll see that innovation and testbed hasn't really taken off. It's actually quite low, but it may not be a priority, because leadership, for instance, or I want to say IT and systems still needs to be taken care of in this first instance. And that's, again, a conversation I would have with you. Have a look at the broader picture and think, have we covered the most critical areas first before we even get into areas of innovation and testbed, or bringing in AI in your curriculum, or bringing in the parents into the conversation, which tend to be a little bit more complicated. So you have this, you can go down into further details. You can have a look at piecemeal structures within each section. We can talk about it in that extent. And again, you can go down and see it in sections in this way, see where you are. So usually 4 means developing, 5 is established, 2, 1 is not, you're in the early stages, and it's okay to be in the early stages. In fact, if you are, that's not a bad thing, given that things are moving so quickly. But we can very quickly move from early stages into a middle stage, and then slightly more developing, established. I have worked with schools where we are in the early stages, unconsidered, not started, emerging. So when you're on the hot red spots, that's fine. We can get you to a place where you're in green. If you're in the schools where you're developing and established, that's a really interesting place to be, because we can then look at innovation test beds. We can look at bringing AI into your environment. We can look to extend the boundaries. What I've often found, though, is when I come on site and visit, there seems to be bigger gaps than we've actually realized, which is, again, not a bad thing. We're all in the process of trying to improve what we're doing, keeping our areas safe for our schools, keeping our areas safe for our students and our staff, and ensuring that we continue with professional development, so that we're building upon our expertise, so that we're preparing for the future, so that we're getting our future ready skills. And all of this is what will help lend itself towards that. One last thing I want to show you is that if you have any evidence, again, this is an amazing feature of School IP, you can upload it, because then we can look at that and we can discuss that as well. So what you see here is a start for you. It's really to give you an opportunity to make a start, have a look at where you are in your current environment, what you're trying to do, where you see your weak spots, where you see your strengths. Get a report for yourself as well. Have a discussion with myself if you want, and then take it further. And I hope it helps. I think I've said everything I need to say, Liam. Is there anything else you'd like me to touch upon?
No, I think that about covers it. So you mentioned the free sort of consultation call in the early stages to help people start to understand the audit, where they should be focusing their times in the early stages as AI starts to become more and more influential in a school environment. I wouldn't mind taking a couple moments now just to see how the wider School IP platform then starts to come into play with the development plan links, with managing your policies and other audits that are available within the platform. So if I can now switch it over
Of course.
to my screen. So one of the areas that you will see as you start to, when you've registered for the audit and you start to build it out, is the development planning area. So you can start to feed that into your wider school improvement plans, linking it into priorities. So one of the first areas that we focus on at School IP is identifying those priorities. What are your key focus points? What do we need to start to build out from these priorities to actually start achieving the different targets? Above that, we then have the objectives themselves. So in here, you start to lay out your improvement plan, breaking that down into smaller actions, bringing in your key stakeholder feedback and different people that are going to help in this journey. So that all starts to play a process in there as well. And then as we saw in one of the areas, you can then start to feed into your policies as well. So as you're reviewing what you've got in place and you're seeing how AI can take part in that, and start to build upon the AI journey, making sure that all the safeguarding is in place. You can start to feed in all of your policies as well, making sure that everyone is agreeing with them, that the staff members are viewing and keeping up to date with what's going on as you start to put these policies into place as well. So again, this is a really great tracking tool to help with that. But that covers School IP's aspect in the wider part as well. Obviously, there's a lot more going on in the wider platform, but in relation to the AI audit, that is what we help with as well. So obviously, if you want to find out more about School IP, we can sort of plug that into a consultation session as well. When you register for the AI audit, obviously you've got that audit on there, but you've also got a link to the ADDI Educate website, so you can find out more about their work. You can use that website to book in for that free consultation call with Neelam. But you've also got a link to our website as well if you want to find out more about our work, and of course the register for the AI portal as well. That covers my section. I'm not sure if Andy's got any questions for Neelam. If anyone wants to put any questions in the chat as well, happy to run through those now. We've still got a little bit of time left.
No, thank you very much. Hopefully other people might have some questions. In my opinion, AI is a bit of a minefield at the present time, Neelam. Just generally, where obviously if people decide they're going to take advantage of this free audit, what journey? Because obviously you've got different questions in there. I think I noticed there were 6 different questions. Where would you start? Which question would you start on first, or isn't there really a starting point? So obviously you're faced with this audit in front of you, and where did you start at the top and work your way down, or what? Could you explain that to me?
That's a great question, actually. Really great question. I'm sorry I didn't cover it. What I'm trying to do is just open it here in front of me. Ideally, what I would say is just make a start. There's really no right or wrong answer how you do it in which order of sequence. What I have had from other people is, I don't really know the answers. And you're not meant to, unless you're actually leading on this fully in your own right. You won't necessarily know. So we've had digital leaders, or we've had senior leaders or middle leaders work with the specific departments to get the answers. And that's actually a really good place to be as well, because it's a collective responsibility in some organizations. So what I would say is make a start. If you don't know the answers, find out who knows the answers, because that in itself is a learning process. Actually, we may not even have that in place. So for example, if I can throw out a few examples, data is ethically collected and stored and used in line with GDPR and AI guidelines and policies. A teacher may not necessarily have that answer or somebody who's leading on it, but they do know they'll have to go to somebody in operations who'll be able to offer that information and perhaps show them evidence that we do have our processes in place. The other thing that might be really interesting is in the innovation and testbed engagement. Some of the questions I've had at me was, we don't really have a STEAM center. So I think that's criteria 50. The school has a focus space to support any STEAM or innovation testbed. So we don't necessarily have a specific innovation center, but we have emerging little pilots coming out that we work where we partner with people or organizations, and then we've got a cohort of schools. So again, you may not know all the answers, but the science department might be doing some really great work on this, or DT might be doing some work with STEAM or STEM, or whatever you want to call it. So it's having those sort of discussions, which are really critical, because digital transformation is not in silo. And I have to repeat this over and over again. It's about pedagogy, it's about operations, it's about finance, making sure that you've got the funds to carry us through every year, every 3 years when we're refreshing our systems. It's about teaching and learning. It's about research and development. So go through it. There will be stumbling blocks. There will be gaps. But that's our homework, our task to go and find out who's doing it and is it even being done in our environment. And if it's not, then don't be afraid to say, we haven't started or it's unconsidered.
Okay. No, thank you. Because obviously, I just think AI is this thing that's there, and there's going to be probably a lot of colleagues here from different environments, from maybe a small little village primary school up to a large college, and it depends on resources and depends on their journey. But as you said, I suppose it is just about making a start and making an understanding and going in small steps. And it'd be interesting, you know, obviously the people who are attending today, if they're able to share maybe some of their experiences and share where they are, and whether they're, you know, a bit worried about AI, or whether they're, you know, there might be digital transformation experts here in this audience, but there might be others that are there going, well, you know, what do I do? So it'd be interesting, you know, if people wanted to do a comment about where they are and whether they're worried or whether they're keen to get involved as well. Because I think it can, you know, as I said before, I think it can be a bit of a minefield, because this thing has come, and it's come so quickly, hasn't it? They say about technology and the way things have invented, but to me, within the last, obviously you're the expert, Neelam, in the last 12 months, 2 years, this has gone, how to say, ballistic, hasn't it? It's gone, and it seems to be going so quickly. So I don't know what your feelings are, whether there's colleagues attending today that would willingly put something in the chat about it.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to hear what other people think. If they have any questions, you know, we'll take it now, like you said, and their thoughts. One thing I would say is that there's no one solution that fits all, as much as we'd like to believe that. I've worked with, like you said, with small schools to independent schools, to some academies, to groups of academies and groups of schools. And it's all very different, and it's all different conversations to have, some with governance, some with compliance, some really drilling down into what is a curriculum going to look like, others to how does this work with the teachers, how do we build that digital and AI culture that we need to infuse with our teachers. I'm not into fear mongering. Yes, it's been a volatile environment the last 12 months, but I think we're coming to a state of, I don't even know if the word calm is right, but to a state of understanding. Now, using agentic AI is huge on the agenda. It's something that we're running. I'm learning at the same time. It's available. There's so many webinars out there. You know, what you're doing today is amazing. So I think it's just finding out, it's just taking a step back. I didn't jump with the rest of the, you know, you've got to watch what's happening, take a step back, look at what your needs are, where you want to be, how you want to empower yourself, and then how do you want to empower your school? And then if you're working at MAT level, what are some of the priorities? What are you trying to fix? That's often what I say. So when you look at this audit again, go through it, be as honest as you can. But if in the conversation you want to say, look, I have a problem, I need to fix this. We need to streamline these processes. I need to get data into these sort of areas because I'm trying to understand well-being. Then we have those conversations because they're all slightly different depending on the type of school. I can see there's some stuff coming through, so I'll let you
Yeah,
lead
I've
with
got a
that.
question from Marius here in the Q&A. Hi, how does the audit help schools move from scattered AI use by individual teachers to a wider school AI strategy?
I'm just trying to find that question. I can't find it.
It's
So
in the Q&A bit next to the chat. There's a Q&A one. It's in there.
okay, sorry, my apologies. I've got the chat open. How do we move from a static AI policy? Schools move from scattered AI used by individual teachers to a wider school AI strategy. What a great question. Okay. Just something that's coming to my mind now as I'm thinking about this. Within Microsoft Copilot itself, Microsoft system itself, and again, there's no bias to one system or another. It's just something that I'm thinking about. They have introduced the AI accelerators, which most of us know about, reading AI, maths progress, speaker progress. That is kind of a very young, innocent, early days of use of AI, but which could be distributed into wider school AI strategy. So I worked with schools where they had needed the reading progress accelerator scheme that was made available through Teams, through Microsoft Office Suite itself. But they implemented it such that all the teachers used it within bilingual context, or they used it within training and translation context. So that's a very small example of what one AI piece can be distributed across the school, provided it's run at a level where it's distributed knowledge, and that's what we're going to do. The other thing I would say is, again, in Teams itself, there's something called Teach. And that's a very new thing that's come through from Microsoft, where you can take your curriculum, you can take your planning, and you can build your curriculum using AI Teach within Microsoft ecosystem. So that's another way to take what tools you have in a school, if you're using the Microsoft system, and embed it into school policy and then into teacher practice. It's just making sure that that's a clear message across the board, and that's something you're going to do and run it. And that's something we've done with one of the schools I worked in Europe, where we took that and we brought in notebook, we brought in all the AI accelerators, and that has been distributed across the school as per policy.
Perfect. Hopefully that answers your question, Marius.
Yeah, I've noticed there's two questions that have appeared in the chat. Well, statements really, one from Kelly and one from Mrs. P. Griffiths, where Kelly has said, their school has a policy in place. She's been appointed at the AI lead. So I never thought about AI leads in schools. I didn't think about that. I just whether they're digital strategies, etc., and running STEM days. And encouraging the use in the classroom and collaboration as a learning tool. But then I totally get the following statement about the journey, because when I was a safeguarding lead, as in Mrs. P. Griffiths has mentioned, she's just gone for an update where obviously they've mentioned that schools need to keep an eye on AI and the power of AI. And she's actually said, which I totally understand, is the idea of AI can be terrifying, because there'll be all these different things regarding safeguarding where AI can be used. And now she said about an AI amnesty with staff, and to implement AI safely. So I totally understand the different situations that schools are going on there. And obviously going there and hearing about safeguarding issue and things like that can put, one minute you're very enthusiastic and the next minute you're there thinking, crikey, I've now got to calm it down. So I suppose with everything, there's a risk, isn't there? And it's how you manage that risk is the big thing, and making sure there's security. Because I say I'm not an AI expert, you are. But the point is, I understand that certain AI systems can be protected, so the data doesn't go externally and things like that. But I suppose, they're obviously working with you, that's where you get it from. So thank you very much for Kelly and Mrs. P. Griffiths putting their comments in there, because I think they're really helpful, and probably a lot of comments that other people are just thinking about now as well.
So what's really interesting again, Andy, is that really it's down to the schools to determine what AI systems are appropriate for that environment. Again, for instance, if it's a Microsoft school, they will use Copilot, which is run and has its safeguarding measures in place. It's got its trademark as well that our data, the school data, is not being used outside. And as long as all the staff know that that's where we want to put in and work with that AI itself, with the Copilot itself, we put in our school data through it, we put in our school information through it, then you should be in a pretty safe position because you've got that approved by the school itself. It really does. What I would suggest is that within, again, the audit, IT systems and infrastructure, are your current IT systems compatible with your AI and digital solutions? Have the safeguards been put into place? These are the conversations that whoever leads on this would need to have the conversations with IT. They would need to have it with operations. Once that's in place, then the staff can be more reassured that they're going to be okay to do things within that environment. If you're a Google school, you'll have you'll have Gemini. If you're Windows Microsoft school, you'll have Copilot. Using other tools, yes, there is that danger, and staff need to be made more knowledgeable, more aware of it. But I think many people start beginning to find out that data is power. Data is the new currency. So if you're going to offer more information out there, then become aware that we're doing something where you should be willing to sell your own data, but not other people's data. So that's the sort of conversation we need to have with staff, that anything school related, anything organized related, use the school systems. And it shouldn't be more complicated than that.
Thank you. I don't know if there's anyone else got any questions or any thoughts.
There was one more thing I was going to say, if you don't mind, to Kelly.
Oh,
I
no.
love the fact that you're running tasks with STEM days using AI. And there was an article that I wrote on LinkedIn where I suggested, and I'm thinking that perhaps we should start designing our experiences in AI rather than with AI. And there's a difference in that, because a lot of what we're doing with AI is becoming a workflow. It's becoming work. As Mo Gawit says, it's becoming work. It's becoming part and parcel of everything we're doing. So if we can attempt to try designing in AI, to Kelly, which just sounds great, because I'd love to learn from you what you're doing. That would be quite exciting.
Oh, that's the big thing that Kelly's just put in there about using AI to reduce workload, reducing administration, reducing those things, the ability to analyze data. And I think that's a lot of things that, especially those working in schools, teachers, are trying to think about that.
And it'd be great to see how we can get the students to start using AI to design their learning experiences.
Oh, Dave's put something about DFE, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. I think the expression Dave says is when you have DFE guidance, and there might be some DFE here. Sometimes I find that people seem to sit on the fence a bit. It's your choice what you do. We'll give you some guidance, but it's your choice. Yeah, so I think maybe that's what Dave's coming down to it. Yeah.
I hear you. We hear you, Dave, and it's collective wisdom here that can get us through this.
Okay, I can't see anyone else typing or any more questions coming through. So I think we can conclude today's session there. We hope that the people who have been able to join us have found the session insightful, and you go away and register for the AI portal, where you can start to fill out those questions. Obviously, if you want to reach out to myself or Andy or Neelam with any additional questions, obviously to book in that early doors consultation call with Neelam to help you understand the audit a little bit better, and start to plan out your next steps in that journey. Then I will follow up with all of that information in an email later today, as well as a recording of today's session, so you can revisit the points that we've mentioned as you start to fill out that audit. But yeah, thank you very much for those who have joined us. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's session. Thank you for joining us, Neelam. Really, really insightful. Obviously, some great points mentioned at the end there, with some people joining in the comments as well. And thank you, Andy, as always, for joining us and asking some questions of your own, and embedding your wisdom onto the session as well. So I'll be in touch later this afternoon. Again, thank you all.
Cheers, then. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Liam.